So here we have Owen, an athlete who is exhibiting movement dysfunction in the squat. He is a beginner, and so we started with the bar, and even with just the 20 kilo bar, we can see knee valgus is occurring. A knee valgus is characterized by hip adduction and internal rotation, and it usually happens when the hip is in a flex position, such as the squat. It's important to correct knee valgus because it can lead to patellofemoral pain, ACL tears, and iliotibial band syndrome. In the side angle, we can see that there is a lifting of the heels occurring. And having the heels flat is an important thing to work towards because it's going to create a solid base of support which we can use to apply maximum force. It seemed important to first identify if the non-optimal movement patterns were being caused by a deficiency in skill or capacity. In order to assess if muscle force in a muscle group was the limiting factor, I had Owen perform a squat with no external load. As you can see, both the valgus knee and the heel lift still persisted. Mobility was ruled out as a cause of these issues because when instructed directly on what to do, Owen could push his knees out and drop his heels. However, not for more than a couple of reps before falling back into bad habits. Seeing as force and mobility have been ruled out, and because Owen is quite new to squatting and has told me that in the past he had injuries that limited his mobility, it is quite likely that he's using the motor pattern that his body has adapted to using and needs to learn a biomechanically superior one. By squatting with the band around his knees, Owen can get proprioceptive feedback on what it feels like to squat with the knees over the toes. If the band goes slack or loose, he will know that his knees are falling back into a valgus position. In some cases, propping the front of the foot up on a plate is a useful tool to force the athlete to shift their weight onto the heels more. However, in Owen's case, this limited his dorsiflexion so much that he could not hit full depth. In the interest of not fixing one problem at the expense of creating a new one, an alternative teaching tool was required. By squatting with a band pulling the athlete forward, they're encouraged to sit back on their heels more. This has the added advantage of not limiting dorsiflexion. After practicing the banded squat variations, Owen's technique improved considerably. This occurred without any specific strengthening or stretching, indicating that this was indeed a skill limitation. Next we have Ian, an experienced weightlifter who also exhibits knee valgus when he squats. This back angle shows us that the valgus becomes more pronounced as the weight increases. As we can see, the knees start just slightly outside the feet, and in the ascent they shoot in medially. The side angle, however, does not show any glaring technical issues that need to be fixed. Unlike Owen, Ian's valgus disappeared completely when he squatted with just the bar. This indicates that he has the skill, but is lacking in capacity, namely strength. Because valgus is characterized by internal rotation, and Ian's issues seem to be due to strength, a logical course of action will likely be to strengthen the external rotators. These are the piriformis, gemellus superior and inferior, obturator internus and externus, and quadratus femoris. So the first exercise that will be prescribed to Ian will be a lunge while resisting internal rotation of the knee by using a band. I believe this will be useful because it replicates the requirements of being able to stabilize and effectively track the knee over the toe while bringing the knee and hip through a full range of motion. A seated banded hip abduction will be used to more specifically replicate the bottom position of the squat where valgus is initiated for Ian. In summary, while both athletes had a valgus dysfunction, the cause and treatment differed. Because Owen's was a skill deficiency, positive change could be made more quickly. Ian will, however, likely need weeks to see a tangible effect from strengthening his muscles. Thanks for listening.